So after agreeing with the laborers for a denarii a day, he sent them into his vineyard. Now, a denarii is a day's wage. So if you want fairness, here it is. A day's work of labor, a day's worth pay. That's your fairness. And going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right, I will pay you." So their tracking of time makes more sense than ours. They measure from when the sun comes up. So when they say the third hour, he means they're basically about 9 a.m. at this point. Now we know this obviously wasn't a union shop, because who decides what the people will be paid? The master. This is the first countercultural thing we kind of get from Jesus in this parable, counter to our culture. Because our culture, laborers actually have a pretty decent say somewhat as to what they'll get paid. Here, the master decides, and when you realize that the master represents God himself, makes sense. It's justice. So they went, going out again about the 6th hour. So now we're at noon. And the 9th hour, 3 p.m. He did the same. And about the 11th hour, so now we're already like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He went out and found others standing. And he said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You go into the vineyard too." And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first." And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarii. Now when those hired first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarii. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." So now you know what I mean. When I heard this for the first time, I 100% totally identified with these laborers. I could feel their eager anticipation when they saw the guys that came last getting a full day's wage. They're like, "Oh boy, we're going to rake it in, brother. Can't wait to see what I'm going to get." And then when they only get a denarii as well, I'm as outraged as they are. I'm like, what a rip. That is completely unfair. That's baloney. But is it unfair? But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarii? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to the last worker as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? So the last will be first, and the first last." So the ones who labored all day received exactly what they deserved. They weren't slighted in the least. They received what they were promised. And you can rest assured there is not one person who ever lived who will be gypped by God. But we can thank God that although there is no one who will get less than they deserve, there are some of us, through grace alone, who will receive far more than we ever deserve.